What's up, guys? Welcome back to our second podcast. If you don't already know, I'm Rob.
I'm Tay.
And welcome. Today, we are going to be... Well, before that, I want to thank Tayron because he's the one who came up with this topic, so thank you, Tayron. Today, we're talking about optimistic versus pessimistic.
Mm-hmm. It's a pretty deep topic. It'll hit people pretty hard. And we'll try to go through the ins and outs of both, not just the definition, but how it relates to us in every facet of our life, from anything from when we wake up to when we go to sleep. We'll try to hit all of that today, but it's a topic that needs to be talked about, especially when something is small. Like in regards to any success, we want to touch base on that because it's like that mindset. It's confusing. It's like it confuses a lot of people, especially at that adolescent age, high school to even college, even adults, where it's like you can't differentiate. And I got some good talking points here, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, and just a good point before he does. I feel like, personally, he is a lot more optimistic. Sometimes. I'm not going to say I'm pessimistic, but I'm definitely not as optimistic.
I would agree with that, but per recent events, I feel like I've definitely come more over to the pessimistic side.
You're just going through a phase, buddy.
It's a phase.
That's not you, Tay. Tay's
optimistic.
Tay's optimistic.
Well, okay, so that's what we're going to do. So should we start off with the
definitions?
The definitions first. So since you're pessimistic, you go ahead and tell us what that is.
Well, let's get the official Google definitions. How about that?
We can do that.
So pessimistic, per Google, tending to see the worst aspect of things or believe that the worst will happen.
And see, I don't like to resonate with that. Normal me doesn't like to resonate with that. So optimistic, the definition per Google says hopeful and confident about the future. Sheesh, that hits hard. Hopeful and confident about the future. Okay, let me get my notepad back out. So you want to start? I think I should start with optimistic, actually. No, I'll start a little bit. So
you go ahead, start, and I'll try to bounce.
So I feel like, okay, so when you're optimistic, right? So I feel like people don't necessarily like to be optimistic. It's not fun to be optimistic. It's not fun to be hopeful. I don't think so. It hurts to be optimistic. It's painful. I mean, in any facet of life. Let's pick a topic. Let's talk about.
Is it less fun than being pessimistic?
I think so.
Really?
I think so. It hurts more to be optimistic. I'd say so. Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'd start with
hurt and depressing. Yes, are two different things.
And no, I mean, and I'd argue that it's still the same.
Because I feel like when you're pessimistic a lot, it can mess with your psyche and it can make you a little depressed.
I agree with that, but I think I gotta say, like, at least one of my major talking points, right? So I feel like, let's just talk about pessimistic for a second. I'll say my argument towards that, and then we can we'll talk about it. So in regards to anything, when you're pessimistic, what happens pretty much? Pessimism kind of happens. Would you say after optimism, naturally? You like to start with a lot of cases. You like to start out being optimistic. No?
It differs person to person. Some people are just naturally pessimistic. Others start optimistic, and then kind of, as time goes by, it slowly becomes.
So you're saying someone can be born pessimistic, without having any hope in anything?
Not born, but certain things happen in life that just shape you into that.
But at some point, that person's hopeful, optimistic. At some point,
I think everyone's naturally hopeful.
That's what I was kind of going to get to. So like. And me working with kids, I kind of see that. Everyone's hopeful to a point. Mm-hmm. Whether they have a stage in their life where something traumatic happens, everyone's optimistic to a point. And so my point is that when that shift happens when you're more pessimistic, right? And that's why I argue it's not as painful because something happens in your brain, I feel like. When you're pessimistic or content or not hopeful with something, I feel like you went through the hard part of your battle. Mm-hmm. And this is just my opinion. I feel like once you accept being pessimistic, you accept your fate pretty much. And my argument is that in optimism, there's always some kind of hope, and hope is by far the most painful. You could be facing the most dire situations, and I can relate to this. You could be facing the most dire things. As long as you hope, you're putting yourself through mental pain regardless. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some categories. Let's talk about something. Let's start with a job. Okay. Right? Let's say you work at Wendy's.
Okay.
You're optimistic about going to that Wendy's because it's your first job. Making $15, $16 an hour, it could be cool, right? So you're hopeful. First day of work, blah, blah, blah. So say something in that employment phase shifts you, and you become more pessimistic, right?
Okay.
Let's talk about what happens in your brain for a second. You're hopeful about what? So we can either talk about a small scale or big scale. When you're at Wendy's, do you think you're going to stay at Wendy's for your whole life? No. You hope for something better, right? At least
absolutely.
90% of us would. I mean, You're right. Some people may just be content. That's what I want to do. I'm a manager now. Boom. Mm-hmm. But you would like to think that the majority of us, want something better in some kind of way.
For most people, it's a starting job.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool. And let's just say for some reason you've been dealt a bad hand, life happens and you're stuck there for 10 years, but you've made it to manager.
Yeah.
My point is that being hopeful hurts, it's painful, and the duration of it's not for the weak. How many people, I'm not saying people do we know, but I'm willing to bet that the majority of people give up hope fast. Let's talk about the people that are from like 30 to 50 years old who never really got to their goals, right? And we're still talking about that job category. So you're stuck at Wendy's and you wind up just being a store manager, right? At some point, they're not going to be trying as hard to reach their aspirations because they're content.
They're going to be burnt out too, yeah.
And that's pessimism. Your hope is gone a little bit. You're not as optimistic. I'm not saying
it's
all gone. You kind of give up.
You give up.
And what happens when you give up? This is my point. When you give up and you kind of accept your reality, you kind of accept your fate in that category of a job, you start putting your brain through less mental pain, in a way. Because instead of waking up being hopeful, what happens when you wake up hopeful or optimistic? You're thinking about different ways to make more money. You're thinking about how you can get out of this job. You're thinking about what can you do to progress while you're still working 8-hour shifts. You may have kids, you may not. Like you're putting yourself through mental trauma, mental push-ups, if you will, to try to get to the next step. Once you turn pessimistic, that goes away kind of, and you kind of become at ease. I feel like you kind of become okay with it a little bit, and that's what I'm arguing. I feel like the stress and the pain level goes away because you're content with it now. You take that hope, which is causing you pain, you put it to the side, and a weird, eerie ease comes over your brain. A comedy, kind of, I feel like.
I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with what you're saying, but at the same time, maybe I'm misunderstanding. It almost sounds like, though, you're saying it's almost better to be pessimistic versus optimistic.
No, and that's why, and I'm glad you said that, because that's one of the main points. Just talking short-term and long-term. Mm-hmm. Short-term, yes, it feels better to be pessimistic, right? Because all of your immediate pain's gone.
Okay.
You're no longer fighting that battle in your head. It's what happens to 95% of people.
Yeah.
You just become content.
Yeah.
So on a short scale of things, you're feeling better. That feels good. Right. That's why people stay average in every category.
Yeah.
You want that girl that you want. You want to marry somebody. You want that job. But it's an L, so you give up. You take that pain out of there. Your short term is good, but the level of aspiration level, right? The ceilings. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying being optimistic always results in a victory. We like to think it does, but sometimes it doesn't. But say your optimism pays off. Say you fight for that girl, right? Say you fight for that girl, and all the odds are against you, right? You can give up. It can be pessimistic. You're giving up. You're moving on. You're trying to get through it. What happens if you stay optimistic throughout that whole time and say for some reason, I don't know, God blesses you or whatever people believe in, like you're optimistic and 10 years down the line you get that girl. What happens? The ceiling's much higher.
Yeah.
The ceiling's much higher.
Yeah.
And you have a story to tell. I feel like. Now, can that happen if you're pessimistic? Do you have that same ceiling?
No.
The answer is no. No, you don't have that same ceiling because guess what? When you're pessimistic, you're trying to put that girl out of your head. That's gone. Done. Yeah, you're done. You're trying to cut it off. All hope of it's gone. Yeah. You're not even trying anymore. And I'm not saying nothing better can't come or you never know a different pivot can happen in your future. I'm not saying that, but say you really want something.
Yeah.
You gotta kind of put it into categories like a job, a car, a girl, a house, anything, any goal, your SAT score, your college degree, right? Anything like that. There's ceiling levels. I'm arguing this. Like, I'm not saying either one is better for certain people. People are wired differently. But it's like, there's different ceilings. And I just feel like, naturally, that pessimism category falls around the turn of average because almost everybody becomes content with some reason. That's why
people settle.
Yeah, that's why there's not as many millionaires in the financial world. Definitely. That's not why many men marry their dream girls because they're unobtainable, at least in the optimistic or pessimistic mindset. That's why people don't get that doctorate degree because they stop. It's not something happens and they're not as hopeful for it anymore. The optimism goes away. That's why people don't get to go travel to China because the price the price of the plane tickets go up and it's like you can't afford it now, so there goes the hope of that. Like there's levels to it, but I genuinely feel like you said, in a way, it is easier to be average, and that's why so many people are average.
A lot easier.
And that's why I fall into. That's why I put that. I put pessimism and average in the same category because it's so easy to be average.
Absolutely.
It's so easy to be pessimistic. It's easy.
The people who are always optimistic maybe fall off the wagon a little bit, have a mental break,
and it hurts.
But then they get back. They get back.
That's what I'm saying.
Those are the people who.
It's
become successful.
And you said I'm more optimistic. Let's talk for a minute.
Yeah.
I feel like for me, I am definitely more of an optimistic person.
Definitely. And I'll tell you that 100%.
I'll say the last year of my life has been more difficult. One of the more difficult in my adult life.
Definitely.
I'm not saying it's the worst year of my life because I know
it's a different kind of difficult.
It's a different kind of difficult. I'm not gonna go into detail. Maybe you guys will get that story down the line. I hope you don't.
TikToks.
Because I am optimistic. You know.
Yeah.
I just feel like this though, right? So I'm an optimistic person, right? But I took one of the. I have a massive L, right? For me, I'm not gonna go into details, but let's put it in black and white terms. I took a massive L, right? Hypothetically, not hypothetically. I took a massive L. There's two ways I can go here. Path of pessimistic or the path of optimistic, and just to kind of break it down. So say I just took an L, right?
Yeah.
Say you took an L. All right. Which way do I go, right or left? Pessimistic. What happens if I go pessimistic with my L? Doesn't matter the category. If I go pessimistic with my L, what happens to me? I walk this way. I become content.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. Yeah. You know, move on.
Yeah.
Right. You just go. You just let things be.
What would be the optimistic side of that?
Let's take a back step and let's go the optimistic side.
Okay.
I use that as fire. Optimistic people, I feel like, don't take the L like this. We don't take the L. This L is temporary.
No,
I feel like it's temporary.
You learn from it.
Yeah, you learn from it. It's temporary. I learned from this L.
Yes.
It may be an L, but it's like, because I'm optimistic, I'm not average.
You
and
take
average
the lesson
people don't take this. Yeah, I take this, and I'm gonna still hope. Because if I hope, listen, the moment I give up hope, it's the moment I lose.
Yeah.
In any category.
Yeah.
The moment I give up hope and the moment I stop fighting is the moment that I lose. And I don't like losing. Listen, that's all it is to it. And I'm not saying pessimistic people can't change or optimistic people can't, because listen, this is probably, like I said, this is one of the hardest times of my adult life. And it's like, I was instilled to this day, I'm not going to lie and say that there's a lot of me that still wants to go to this pessimistic side on a daily basis. Just give up. You know, move forward. It's not gonna happen. ETC, it's not in the cards. It's not in the future. It goes. That is so. Do you understand how easy it is to feel that way? To just lay in your bed.
Yeah, but it hurts though, doesn't it?
It hurts.
Yeah.
But it's like you get the hurt over with, because once you accept that reality, you can kind of come over. A peace comes over you. Like, let's just go. It's over. Let's just move.
Nothing I can do about it.
Yeah, it's over. But me being optimistic, me just being Tay. I battle with myself every single night till about 12 a.m., 1 a.m. because I'm not taking that out. Listen, I'm not saying because I'm not quitting, I'm gonna get what I want. It's a very high chance that I might not get what I want. I may have this lingering L over my head for the rest of my life. It's very possible. But me being who I am, I can't just take it that way.
Yeah.
It hurts that way. So I'm curious to see what you think about
it. You're the type of person who you'd rather give it your all. And look back and say, no, well, don't die, but you can look back, which is, I think, kind of my mindset too, just maybe not to the certain extent as yours.
At what point do you give up with something? Like, when do you think you give up? So let's just say a category.
If I'm looking, yeah, go ahead.
So say, I'm going to give you a category, I don't know, pick something. I'll let you pick between a job, a girl, or a financial aspiration.
Let's go for financial aspiration.
Financial aspiration, right? So say, and with that is kind of like an age thing may happen, because like you may start a family, something may happen, and you may not have enough opportunity or time to get, At what point do you give up on your aspirations? So would you say, I'll give you just a brief example. Would you say you're 42 years old, you got 2 kids, do you stop wanting to be a famous YouTuber?
Do I have time?
You have as much time as a working man who has to provide for his family. You might have an hour, but it may be at 11
I wouldn't, it's so hard. Because I could say something, but then when I get to 42 and have 2 kids, I could do something completely different, because I don't actually live in that. I don't know yet.
That's what I'm saying.
But I feel like for example, with us right now, we have time to film videos, not as much time as we used to when we lived together, but the time we do have, we put it towards this. It takes up a lot of time. When you have 2 kids, that's going to take up even more time. So I don't think.
That attacks your optimism.
I feel like I would. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I would give up.
So you'd be pessimistic.
Yeah, let's call it pessimistic. I feel like I would give up, because if I don't have time to make for YouTube, like YouTube, you can't just upload once every 3, 4, 5 months, and you're gonna no. You have to be somewhat consistent, at least once a month, twice a month. If I know I'm not gonna be able to do that. I'd rather put my time and effort into something else.
I want to pause there where it says you're not going to be able to do that. So, and that's where everyone takes the pessimistic route, because when all doors seem closed, every avenue seems locked, and there's absolutely no way you can pursue that. That's where pessimism rears its ugly head. That's what it's supposed to make it seem like. There's no hope.
I see it as realistic though.
Definitely realism can be in that category. It's like what's a more realistic option?
I'm not talking like just cold turkey quit, but like you try a few times and you try to make it work, but like after certain times, insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. It's like I feel like eventually
that's the argument, because I would definitely put that realism word inside the pessimistic category, because you're right. When overwhelming odds are against you, it's more realistic that you're not going to achieve those goals.
Correct. But is it impossible? No, I don't think it's ever impossible. That's where I have
to argue. Everybody can't be great, or the word great wouldn't exist. Bill Gates isn't Bill Gates.
Everyone would be. If it was,
Listen, Bill Gates wouldn't be Bill Gates if
he didn't.
If he didn't keep going. When all doors were closed on Bill Gates, when he couldn't get investments, he could have eased that mindset. I'm talking about big people here. Amazon, Tesla. When those people at one point in their lives, all of their doors were closed. I'm not saying everyone's gonna be a Bill Gates.
It takes certain people. It definitely takes certain people.
But I'm saying that's where those people get. Everyone wants. We're still in the financial category. Everyone wants a Ferrari, or everyone wants a supercar. Everyone wants to be able to provide this big house for their family, right? Everyone wants to be able to take their family on vacation and travel the world. Muslims go to the Hajj, or Christians, they want to have a beach house and somewhere warm during Christmas time. It's like. What you're explaining is okay because it's more realistic. You're right, and that's why you see that's why you see more people in standardized homes. You see average houses. You see 9 to 5 jobs making 40, 50K. You see regular working class people. Nothing's wrong with that. Nothing's wrong with that. That's okay. It is definitely the more realistic side of it. Realistic. You're gonna make 50K. You're gonna have 2 kids in a nice 2-bedroom home with your wife. I'm not saying that might be me too. It might be me. I'm not willing to give that up though.
Yeah.
I want my dream wife.
Yeah.
I want my dream house.
Yeah.
I want my dream car, and I want to be able to travel the world and help as many people as possible.
So let me ask you a question. At what point would you stop? Like there's I feel like there's nobody.
You say everyone has a point, right? You're gonna get to that.
Everyone I feel like it, bro. You're not gonna be 67 years old and still chasing. Let's keep the example you're going. Still chasing the same girl. She's now married or something. I mean, at what point do you?
I think when you're right.
Because it's also not healthy.
So say I'm chasing a girl, right? So say there's a person chasing a girl, and you're right. That's something that can be a hindrance. That means all doors are closed. You find out that she's getting married. What happens, right? For me, it's like, if it was me, it'd be like, there's no hope.
You don't go to the wedding and try to...
Listen, but listen, I will argue that. The optimistic side of me does what? I'm not, I'm just speaking off the top of the dome, because I have no idea what it would be like if someone that I dream of got married. Listen, if that happened, right? What does the optimistic person do? Do you just welcome does the pessimistic George just welcome you and give you the big hug?
No, I feel like they... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like
they go try to find the better girl.
That's the thing, but like, say the optimistic side is like, you don't want to take that. Oh, it's different with a girl, because like, once she's moved on with her life, she's moved on with her life. But at the same time, what happens if the marriage that she has doesn't work out? She comes back, she comes to you in 2 years. And you've embraced the pessimistic side. I'm not saying that's something
a pessimistic person can still go. Like, it's not like once you go right, you can never go back. Like, it's harder to go left, because if you've traveled this far to get back to this side, you got to do a lot of walking.
Yeah, but you don't know what you set up over on the pessimistic side though. You could have set up a whole other life over there already by accepting an L.
Yeah.
That may not be possible to go back, because what if you've moved on as well, and you have 3 kids? You're not going back.
No, it'd be
You're not going back.
What if your marriage doesn't work out on this side?
What's that? That's optimistic, isn't it? It's got technically.
No, it is not optimistic.
But you're saying it in relevance to the other girl.
I'm just giving an example. I'm saying there's always like something that could happen in life.
I feel like if the optimistic side would be like, if my love of my life was getting married to someone else, I feel like the only thing you can do is actually at that moment take the L, and at that point you do definitely become more pessimistic. It's only natural. It's the more realistic side.
Is it pessimistic though?
I feel it's because realistic then.
Yeah, because if you're optimistic and you've tried everything you can, and like that person has moved on,
so say you
what else can you do?
But it's still pessimistic because there's no longer optimism of you getting married to her.
But pessimistic is looking at like the ugly side of things. You're not.
Yeah, that's what it is. The ugly side of it. You didn't get the woman you wanted.
I don't think that's pessimistic. I think there's got to be like a word that's in the middle.
There's not.
There has to be.
There's optimism and pessimism.
We're gonna have to make a word then.
There's not, because at the end of the day, your optimism of marrying that girl is gone now. That is the ugly side of things. There's no in the middle. That's the ugly side of it. It's an L.
I don't know.
Now what happens?
I don't think that's right.
And so that's just per the definition. Let's just ride with it. I am gonna start being more pessimistic now. Right? She's married. I can't. Doors are closed. And it's a ever slow tug because I'm optimistic. I love her. It's not gonna happen. You keep going. It's pessimistic. What happens if her marriage doesn't work out? What if she comes back to you in 2 years? Are you still? Is that a victory?
Is it worth it?
Is it a victory though?
Could maybe not.
You get the girl that you want.
Yeah, but you were her second choice.
That would destroy you, wouldn't it?
I mean,
it would destroy me.
If someone has a lot of pride, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But
girl is a very hard example because you're giving it once she gets married, it's like.
Do you let your pride get in the way of your happiness?
Yeah, at that point I have to say no. If that's who you want, that's who you want.
Yeah.
If that's who you love, that's who you love.
Yeah.
Let's get something that's not as hard. Let's pick a job.
Okay.
A job happens. So say you want to be a famous YouTuber. I've asked you this. You want to be a famous YouTuber. It's like, when are all your doors closed? Are all your doors closed when you have kids?
No, because there's a lot of YouTubers who have kids.
When's your doors closed?
Let's say it's hard to give an exact date or an approximate time. But if you've been doing how long have we been doing YouTube?
A long time. Maybe 5 years.
5 years. Maybe if we add up, if we subtract the years we haven't been doing it for, probably 2 years. Mm-hmm. I would say. I mean, if I'm doing YouTube for 15 years, and I haven't even passed 1,000 subscribers, 10,000. No, we'll say 10,000 subscribers. Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna be honest here, and I'm not embarrassed to say I'd give up. I'd put my time.
Pessimistic side.
Yeah, I'd put my. I don't see it as that, but yeah,
it is,
per the definition, sure. But I would put my time and research.
Put the definition again.
Into something else.
I want to hear you read it out loud because you're saying you don't. That's not what you'd call it. What was it?
Tending to see the worst aspect of things or believe that the worst will happen. No, because that's not what it is.
You're no longer believing the best is going to happen. The best is going to happen is you're going to be a successful YouTuber.
The best is optimist. The worst is pessimistic. I don't know the definition of the term. My point is, the worst would be like, well, I'm just gonna quit and go work at McDonald's, whatever. Nothing wrong with people who work. That was actually my first job, but instead of doing this, well, you know what? I'm gonna put my time and resources and put it into investing, making my own business, do research. Do something.
I got something.
Go ahead.
This is gonna, not to cut you off, but this is gonna kind of stand true to our conversation because we said that word realistic, right?
Yeah.
So, optimism and pessimism operate on a continuum of which the midpoint is realism. Realists explain events just as they are. Realistic optimists are cautiously hopeful of favorable outcomes, but they do as much as they can to obtain the desired results. Meaning. The midpoint, so, okay, we'll use realism as the midpoint. Then here's optimistic, here's pessimistic, and here's the realistic side of things. Let's talk about something.
Can they see the table?
I think, okay, maybe they can. I'll say the hardest example you give me by far is a woman. Mm-hmm. So you got the pessimistic side and you got the optimistic side, and the midpoint's realism. Mm-hmm. She gets married. Your optimism is probably now at that point almost shattered, and then you have to come to the dark side, which is you're at the realism point now. Sure. What is the realistic side of you getting married to her if she's already married to someone else? You can't hope for her downfall. You can't hope for her you can't hope that, right? I mean, there's probably some weird optimistic ways you can think of it, but it's like the realistic part is that she's married. You want to hope that she's going to be happy. She's going to have her kids. She's moving on, right? You're realistic at that point. That's the midpoint.
Sure.
And you're saying that there could be something.
What if your goal? Why can't you change your goal?
Yeah, you can. You definitely can, but when it comes to certain categories like being average, how often do goals change to be as big as the original aspirations?
It can. I don't know. It depends. Let's keep using the girl as an example. Mm-hmm. Let's say you're in love with this girl and she gets married, and then you're like, oh, whatever. So let's call it pessimistic, realistic. You try to find somebody else. You're like, I'm never gonna find someone that I thought I was gonna love as much as said girl. Mm-hmm. And now you find somebody else, and you're like. 1 month in, you're like, okay, I mean, she's all right. I like the other girl more. A year comes in, and then you're like, you find out things about this girl that you love, and you're like, wait a minute. Mm-hmm. This girl is a lot better than this girl. Mm-hmm. So why can't your goal shift? And that's still optimist, because now it's like, I want to stay with this girl. Now, if the other girl came, I wouldn't even care.
But the original optimism is gone from the original goal. So that, I'm not saying, I don't want to ignore that part, though. The original optimism goes to where?
To the next next like I don't know, the next.
I'm saying you have to. I'm saying
target.
In order for you to go to you can't. I don't believe that you can just jump from one optimism from one optimism.
No,
I think you
optimist, realist. You could call it optimist, pessimistic. Then you start. Then maybe after you recover a little, you go in the middle, and then
you go back to being optimistic. I can agree with that.
Some people.
I can agree with that, but it's like you have to be optimistic in nature to do that because I'm arguing that this pessimistic phase is way too easy to be in. It's easy to be pessimistic.
I think it's different for every category. Like a woman, I think it's easier to be optimistic.
You do?
Yes.
Why do you say that? Why? Because women are what? Emotional? They're flip-floppy? Why do you think it's... Why?
No, it has nothing to do with it. But there's so many women, and like, I think, this is just a personal belief, I think that everyone's destined for somebody.
I can agree with that.
So I feel like when something doesn't work out with one person, you're gonna, of course, it's only natural to feel really down, but then eventually, like, this is kind of actually personally for me, like, I would try to find people, right, and it just wouldn't work out for the longest time, and I just couldn't find someone that I would get along with, and it would work out, whatever. So I eventually became very negative. I stopped looking, and all that, and then slowly I just realized, I was like, you know what, it's just not my time in life. I'm gonna continue to make an effort. When the time comes, it comes, and I'm happy with that. So it's like...
So what would you call that then? Would you call that optimism or would you call that pessimism? It's both.
Yeah, it's both. Yeah.
You're optimistic because you're still giving a little effort.
Correct.
But you're not
full.
Yeah. So in your case, it's kind of both. And I'd still say that it comes from an optimistic nature, though. Like you argue that you'll be more pessimistic. I agree to a point, but at the same time, it's still coming from a core of optimism. I believe it.
I would think I'm right in the middle. I think I'm not.
I don't think you. I think, and that's the thing though. I still think it's dangerous to play right in the middle. Playing in the middle for your whole life is dangerous.
Playing on the whole on your left.
Yeah.
I think playing on any side is
very dangerous
your whole life.
But being in the middle alone is dangerous as well. You can't have your foot in both.
I think certain.
I think there's a course that needs to be followed.
Yeah.
I don't think you can stay in one. I don't think this is good. This is good. I think there's a course you have to follow.
Yes.
I
agree with.
For me, I do believe that I'm a genuinely optimistic person. I'm gonna hope until I can't hope anymore.
Yeah.
Until the finishing blow is dealt to me, I'm gonna hope. Yeah. Right. And so whether that be with a woman or a job, I'm going to hope, or a career like my business, I'm going to hope until there's absolutely no hope. Say all worst comes to worst.
Can I interrupt you just because I don't want to forget this point. Now, okay, if you're a pessimistic person, isn't it? I think that no one should ever stay fully pessimistic. I used to kind of be like that when I was younger, and then as I started getting older and had more confidence, I think now that I'm thinking about it, I think I started becoming a little more optimistic. Like, for example, I don't have a college degree, right? So my first job, it was McDonald's, and then I went to Sears. I was trying to work my way up to Sears.
So pick back up at Sears, and then you
sorry, the video cut. Sears liquidated. And then after that, I was really upset because I put all my time and effort into that. So I went and just found any job I could, and it was an oil change shop. And I was there for about 3 or 4 years. I was working 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. I was the most miserable I have ever been in my entire life. Okay? Now, I feel like God sent this man to me. Some guy came for an oil change. We had a conversation. He liked my attitude. We were just having a talk. The next time he came in, he offered me a job. Okay? Now, if I was still pessimistic, like I was, even though I did almost settle for this oil change shop, but I wasn't pessimistic because at the same time, I was still open to different opportunities. I wasn't just not going to take chances. So when this man offered me a job, I think if I was completely pessimistic, I would have just been like, I appreciate it, man. I'm going to stick to here. Because I wouldn't have thought either it's too good to be true. It's not going to work out. Which I won't lie. Some of it was like, maybe I shouldn't take the chance. Maybe I shouldn't take the risk. And but eventually, with actually some help with Sharab, my friend, he kind of helped and talked to me about it. But I was really close to not taking the job. But my point is I saw some hope and I took the job. And now I'm happy. I'm not like... super happy, but it's a big improvement from where I was.
Right, and I guarantee you that
huge improvement.
That probably helps going forward in your optimism of thinking of something even better than what you're doing now.
Absolutely,
because you've seen optimism working once.
Things change.
Yeah, man. So it's like I feel like there is a course that needs to be taken,
Yes.
I genuinely feel like for me, I can argue too that when I was really young, I was genuinely pessimistic during a part, but I feel like who cares when they get to a certain age, and it's like I grew into an optimistic person.
Yeah.
Now, in certain categories, an L is an L.
Is this before I met you? Because I feel like ever since I've known you,
sure.
okay.
But when I met you, I was like a lot of optimism.
Yeah,
I was like, we're gonna do this. The moon is the limit. So it's like, I feel like a course has to be taken. So it's like, say I start off as optimistic and something happens.
Okay.
You're gonna have to cross over to that realistic side of things and look at the actual the percentage of something happening for you.
Yeah.
You have to kind of have a real conversation with yourself of like, okay, this is a realistic chance this is gonna happen. I'm optimistic. I want it to happen, but what are the realistic chances, right? And so you start coming more towards that realism side, and naturally, and it may not be bad initially, but naturally, with you giving up your optimism, coming to the realism side, in that category that you've given up your optimism with, you start becoming more pessimistic in that specific instance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you stay there, because me being naturally optimistic alone, I am not going to stay in this pessimistic side. Like you said, you brought up a good point. Once I've shifted from my first original goal, from being optimistic to realistic to now being pessimistic in that specific goal, there's nothing wrong with pivoting to a new optimistic point.
Yes.
Wrapping and looping out of that pessimistic side to being optimistic about something else.
Yeah.
So here's a girl, right? I just took an L, right? She gets married. What are the realistic chances I'm going to marry her? Not very much, because she's married with someone else, right? Correct. So I'm not, the realistic side still hitting in. It's hitting me. Shifting to the realistic side. Now, she's married, she has kids, she's moving on. I know that that's pretty much not going to happen, because I'm not saying it's impossible, but the chances are very, very slim.
Yeah.
So in this particular category, the chance I'm going to get that girl, the realistic side, 0.0001% chance I'm going to get that girl.
So you can either stick around and wait for
her
to show up, and it may never happen.
I can still be, or you can be realistic, and you start, and that's in this category with this married woman now. With this specific category, I now shift to pessimism, because it's not gonna. I believe that it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I believe at that point, that category is not gonna happen. So I shift from optimistic to realism to pessimistic. Now, me being me, and every individual is different, like you said. I'm not staying here, because my new optimism toward a new woman can happen.
Yes.
I can.
That's the argument I was trying to make.
I can slingshot out of that. I can slingshot out of that. And be now at the same optimistic point again for a different woman.
Yes.
I'm arguing that people don't get to go through this whole phase, because once you're stuck here in this pessimistic side, it's so easy to be content. Like you said, at the oil change shop, you had a glimmer of, so you weren't just saying no. You could have said no to that guy.
No, I wasn't completely. Yeah.
That whole, but it may not be a girl. I've been talking about a girl a lot. It's in a job situation, it's much more difficult, because the door may not be as firmly closed as a woman getting married.
There's always opportunity.
Right, and so like you have to think about the endurance rates of it. You're working a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. When am I going to find a new job? When am I going to pursue any aspirations? You will be stuck in this. You can be stuck in this, bro. And it's not like I'm just talking heebie-jeebie, bro. A lot of people get stuck. People work 9 to 5. What does 9 to 5 mean? They've submitted to being average. That's just it, and that is stuck in the realism pessimistic phase.
Correct.
You're stuck there.
Correct.
That's just the facts of it. 99% of Americans are 9 to 5ers. Not saying anything's wrong with it, but what does that mean? That means your aspirations of being anything great, if you had aspirations to begin with, on the optimistic side.
Yeah, if you're not pursuing anything.
If you're not going to pursue anything, then guess what? Where do you fall at? You fall in that realism and pessimistic side. And like I like to argue in the beginning, I just feel like genuinely like everybody can't be great, or there wouldn't be a great. Everyone can't be optimistic and stick with their optimism of being something amazing, because then it wouldn't be as great as it would be if you got to that goal.
No.
Now you're right. Being optimistic is you're very, what's the word I'm looking for? Vulnerable. I think so. Because there is a chance that you may never, ever, 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 ever get what you want. Whether it be a job, a degree, a woman, you may never get that. That's what I'm saying. It's painful. Back to my original statements.
But
it's painful to be optimistic. I feel like it's very painful to be optimistic, because it's a never-ending fight with yourself in your brain.
I feel like so, but now I feel like also being optimistic and putting the work in are two different things. Am I right or am I wrong?
But putting the work in is in what category?
Some people can just be optimistic, like, oh, this I'm gonna get this job or get this girl, but like not really put in work. They just feel emotionally optimistic about something.
So what work would you put in with a girl?
The girl is hard. I mean, you'd have to pursue her.
So when do you stop pursuing? When the marriage point?
Yeah, like what we were saying before. It's easier to talk about like for a job, for example. I mean, you can just be optimistic. Like for example, with YouTube, we can be optimistic but only upload once a month.
Yeah, this is the video. Like
yeah,
we're gonna be that's what you're getting at.
But like, I feel like because you were saying you can be optimistic but never actually make it, which I do agree. But I also want to. This is just what I think. I think if you put in enough hard work, that chances of never making it gets a lot smaller.
Yeah,
I think like the people.
But that's also category wise though. So YouTube, let's stick with YouTube.
Yeah.
You can make a video for the rest of your life, you may never make it, and I would argue that the overwhelming majority of people never make it, no matter how many videos.
Yes, my point is the person who puts in less work
has a less chance of making.
A lot less chance.
100%.
Versus
100%. Yeah, so, I agree with that too. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that as well. I just feel like, and I guess should we do closing statements now? I feel like
we've discussed everything.
You help. I mean, you put a good analogy in my head with the realism part of it, and like when certain categories where it's like okay, but I think in order to get to that point where it's like the realism and opening the door to new optimism, there has to be a firm line as to where you give up hope in the original goal. There has to be a firm line that is placed into your belief or in your mindset where it's like you can no longer attain this goal of yours. That has to be. You can set it to anything. You can set it to like it's easy with the girl when she gets married. If that's your limit, right? If that's your limit as to when she gets married or she has a kid, that's when you're gonna stop pursuing.
Or she blocks you or something.
Well, no, but blocking I'm talking about something that the door, because blocking the door's not permanently closed. You can be unblocked and there's no.
She's followed a restraining order.
That's cool. No, that could be something.
Yeah.
I'm saying there has to be some kind of.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of bold line in your head where it's like, okay, she's married now. It's over with.
Yeah.
That opens the door for them. You have to secure that line. So with the YouTube, I am 45 years old. I've made videos all this time, and I don't have 10,000 subscribers. The bold line is there. Like, okay, it's time for new optimism now.
Correct.
And you have to go through the cycle of realism and pessimism, and then you can slingshot to new optimism. So I think that bold line of your original goal has to be set in optimism because it is very painful, and that's a good point you bring up because it's like. Being an optimistic person,
your whole life.
Yeah, you can, and it's like you can. What is it? You get rich or die trying, right? Because that's a very optimistic statement. Get rich or die trying. That means until you die, you will try to get rich. That means you're optimistic for your entire life until you die.
Yeah.
That sounds very admirable, and a lot of people aren't that admirable to get rich or die trying.
Absolutely not.
At some point in time,
are you willing to go hungry to try to do something to the point where you can't even afford food and like pay bills and that's it. Like,
my final two things. Which one do you think has a higher ceiling of hope, of potential?
Potential?
Potential.
Definitely optimism.
Yeah. And but there's a clause in there because that is not saying be optimistic to your original goal forever because your original goal forever is a gift because you still have that hope, but it's also a hindrance because if it never happens, you limit yourself from having any other potential optimistic hope.
No, I mean,
if you never give up on
based off things that are happening, I think you need to make an educated decision on changing that goal. So
right, but I'm saying if you can't open yourself up to new optimism if you won't let go of the old optimism.
Of course not. Yeah.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing's wrong with that, but again, that comes with a bold line. And I also want to say this, so we're talking because I think you guys can kind of tell he's more of an optimistic person. He said he's pessimistic, but I think he's more optimistic than pessimistic. I'd say that I still stand firmly in my goal because, and this is just statistically with a lot of categories, whether it's getting your dream girl or having your dream job, I believe that 99% of us are okay with being in that pessimistic. It's easier to be there. In the short term, because you're letting go of the pain of being optimistic. Yeah. In the short term, yes.
Yeah.
And in the long term, if you don't open up the door for another optimistic route, it's long term when you give up. I'm talking about the people that give up. When you give up, you have given up hope of your extra door of optimism going somewhere else.
Absolutely.
I genuinely believe that being optimistic is more painful because you put yourself through the pain of something, the mental trials of that optimism every day knowing that it may not ever happen.
But when it does happen,
if it does happen, if we have to say if,
all that pain is very much worth it.
It's very much worth it. Whether it's a girl, whether it's a job.
You kind of said it before. Then you have a story to tell.
So that's kind of where I want to close off at. We used a couple of very different examples, but I feel like we're gonna keep repeating ourselves. I just feel like.
Long story short. Yeah. I feel like never close your doors fully.
And that's a dangerous line. Never closing your doors fully is like. if you don't close your door fully, it's like so. I wish I had like doors that we can make like a little cartoon. If I keep my door open slightly cracked, like maybe I can marry this girl. I'm gonna keep it cracked though. I'm gonna keep it cracked, and I'm gonna pursue her though. And then you keep it cracked so you can pursue this girl, but then that crack opens. Mm-hmm. It's like
at that point you just pick who you like.
You pick. But what happens if you keep that
door
door?
Now you have options.
It's like someone would argue it's like, okay, why not just close that door permanently and pursue this fully?
It depends on the
situation.
It's situational.
It depends.
You can't
unfortunately, guys, I don't think we have a black and white answer for you guys. We kind of broke it down pretty good, though, I think.
I feel like you did a very good job, yeah.
I feel like I just ran.
I sat here, looked at you, and nodded.
I feel like I just talked a lot, bro. I don't even know what I said.
Okay.
I don't even know what I said today.
It's okay.
I just feel
You're a teacher. This is you're good at this.
Man, I don't know. I feel like, for you guys out there watching this, whoever watches this, I mean, it'll be up there forever. So whenever someone does stumble upon this video, optimism versus pessimism, take it with a grain of salt. Be who you are. Look inward first. Understand how important is your original optimistic goal, I'd say, because we kind of agree in a cycle. Mm-hmm. Understand how
I think
important.
that's like one of the few things we agreed on.
Yeah.
This one.
Understand that your original optimistic goal is your original optimistic goal, and I want you to pursue it.
Yes.
I want you to pursue it.
Yes.
I will say, please make a bold line as to where you have to cut it off at, whatever the category is, so you don't get stuck. Get rich or die trying. Someone will argue with me. It's the chances of it happening. The optimistic side of me is like, just get rich or die trying. Go for it forever. Don't give up. But the realistic side has to come in, which is the median line we discussed. You have to kind of have a cutoff point where the girl, again, if she gets married, you have to be more realistic. And that realistic side opens it. You may get into the pessimistic side a bit, but it allows you to open up the door to, go somewhere else. I don't know how maybe we can draw a diagram. Optimism, realism, pessimism, and then it goes back to, you have to, it works together almost. Mm. That's what I gotta say about it. I mean, it's a weird topic to think about. It's hard to talk about, and depending on your life and how your life's going and whatever category you may fall in, whether it be a job, maybe a lot of people, a college degree, hope with anything, I would like to say that God is good and miracles do happen. I believe in God.
That's for sure.
I believe in God. I feel like in whatever we said today,
very mysterious ways.
Whatever we said today could be just immediately swiped away with God's will. So it's like, for me, I feel like nothing's ever impossible.
Correct.
I just feel like that too. But we kind of broke it down in an analytical standpoint for you guys. So, anything else?
That being said, guys, thank you so much for tuning in.
Great video podcast.
Like this video. It'll help us out a lot. Give us recommendations in the comment section below.
I think we'll probably start snipping some of these up into a podcast, like on Spotify or something, maybe an Instagram reel or something. We'll figure something
Shorts
out.
For YouTube or something.
Thank you guys for watching, man. I'm so grateful for you guys watching. Thanks for listening to us. This is a long podcast. Whatever you make it through, you make it through. Mm-hmm. Very grateful for you guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Till next time.
Till next time. And Goku's better than Naruto.
No! Naruto forever will be goated.